everyone back to Pommy and Oz. If you're new around here, do me a solid, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 10K, so if you can help me do that, that would be sick. And we're here for the big one, the Carlton versus Adelaide. We know they've never won in Adelaide Oval, so let's get straight into it. And obviously, this is the big one, isn't it, for the boys? This is the ultimate test, the kind of game that, when you think about it, they've never done. Because obviously, like we say, they've never won at the AO. And these are the games, really, that I get excited about. Because on paper, I don't care what you say, the boys can do it. I am a full believer that the boys now have gone into an evolution as a football team, that they ain't that side that you think they are. And Carlton are going into this game with a weird anomaly here. They are currently 5th in scores from D50. The transition game is going through the roof. And we'll talk about that a bit longer. But 69 points, a plus 26 differential. Going up against Adelaide, who have a 0. They're on par for their differential. But they have conceded 69. Incidentally, in Carlton are one of the lowest sides in concession in that stat. And that is a big improvement in the way that we've seen the boys play. A lot of people are talking about Carlton and kind of looking at them like they're kind of like an anomaly, like they're kind of like some kind of magic thing. But I look at the boys and think, you know what? There is blatant improvement, even though they're not probably they're probably 6 out of 10 at the moment. But in the structures, the things that actually matter, you can see Voss has worked hard and they're very well drilled. Now, we've lost Doherty for this game. We're going to talk about him a lot. He offers a massive versatility, particularly in the last couple of games. However, the hard work down that back line, he's kind of the cherry on top. So we've still got the cake. We've got the fondant icing. Bob on. Do you know what I mean? So we move. And that's what good sides do. No excuses. Go there and flex the muscle. We have shown over the last 2 games, and this is no disrespect to Adelaide, but we've shown over the last 2 games that there is levels to this game. There is levels to elite level football. And Carlton are 2nd on a ladder, Adelaide are 7th. And that says something. Now, do I think Adelaide are the 7th best side in the comp? I would say, hand on heart, Carlton are closer to where they'll finish on the ladder than Adelaide will. And that is no disrespect to them. Adelaide coming off the back of 2 wins, obviously, against Port Adelaide and Freo. Port more hot and cold than a Kate Perry song. And Fremantle, honestly, they're about as potent as the French were at Agincourt. They aren't going to kick a lot of goals. And Adelaide's big one wood is their forward line. Carlton's one wood at the moment has been their back line. And it is a great myriad of that. And it allows Carlton to really take the game to these guys. Because when we've seen sides go at them, GWS and Richmond, they've won. They've won. And our model at the moment closely mirrors that counterpunch of the Richmond Tigers, which is exciting. And you've got to look at that Carlton haven't played brilliantly, but they have beaten Geelong. They nearly beat Richmond, who were at full strength. Do you know what I mean? They comfortably got over GWS and North. And I think on form, you've got to back the boys. You've got to. I understand everything else, but for me, when I look at this football side, I am seeing a side now that is ascending into a better position as a football club, and a position that we should be very proud of. Carlton at the moment as well, incidentally, people are talking about the percentage, but Carlton have the 6th best percentage in the league, right? Do you know what I mean? It's not bad. And we haven't played some of the rocking horse poo that the other sides have had. So I think this is a really good game here to go in. And what people forget about percentage is this side here is going to be a top 12 side. Adelaide, they're going to be around that mid-table thing, maybe sneak as a chance of finals. This is where you eat percentage off teams around you by just winning. Whether that's 6 points or 100 points, doesn't matter. So let's get into the key matchups, because really for me, the boys win this game by going in and playing their way, playing their brand. And that is what's cost us against North and GWS. It took a while for us to really remember who we are as a football club. And Adelaide won't let you. And the first people we're going to look at is the rated R superstars, Isaac Rankine and my boy, Josh Rachele. We know that I'm a big fan of Josh and I love Isaac. These two are my two favourite players probably to watch in opposition colours. And they've flown this year. And let's have a look at them individually. Here is Mr. Isaac Rankine. 6 shots, 9 score involvements per game. They are elite numbers. 4 tackles, 2 inside 50 tackles, and a staggering 18 pressure acts. And Isaac is a workhorse with a touch of class. He is a phenomenal little footballer, and he's going to be an issue. He's going to be an issue. He likes to drop deep outside of D50 and be that conduit as well, which is something that, is becoming a niche word on the Pommy and Oz show, the old C word. But he's a real conduit, and he's a real live wire. And this guy here, he's going to be relying on the source from players like Rory Laird who get the ball inside 50 quickly, but also this guy is deadly when the ball hits the deck. And that is where Carlton are going to really be looking at Sardi and Newman, who we'll talk about later, to do the business. Josh Rachele, this guy here epitomises why you look at football, a round ball, to find your small forwards. 4 shots, 7 score involvements, 3 tackles, 0.4 tackles inside 50, so that we've rounded these up. 16 pressure acts. And this guy here is the finisher, the poacher. He's a proper centre forward. That makes me excited in the round ball because that's what I was. I was that, not as talented as Josh Rachele, but I took my opportunities. I like to feast on the mistakes of my defenders, and this is what Rachele does. But he's also got that ability to come into the midfield and rotate through there. He gets his hands on the ball. He's kind of like the closest we've got is Zach Fisher. And you look at how Adelaide use him. They've really utilised the ability that sometimes he goes missing last year in games. And you saw that from the start till the end. They've got the model down pat. Throw him on the ball around stoppages, get him on his hands on the pill early. And if this guy's invested, you see the synergy of him and Rankine. These can pull the game away. And these are two, without any shadow of a doubt, take your danger game and stick it up your bum. This is team rated R game. This is a game here that if Carlton can stop the source, but also stop the application, they're well on the way because these two can hurt you quick, smart. Up next, we've got Dodi Power, and I love Tom Dodi, and I think he's very underrated. We saw the scorpion kick invoking his Colombian goalkeeping heritage there. This guy's talent. This guy's class. Absolute class. And what is amazing about Dodi is when we bring up his numbers here is just how smart a cookie he is. 88% one-on-one win rate. And he's going to need that this weekend. You've got H and you've got Big Charlie. H, he'll get off. Don't worry. We're putting positive energies here on Pommy and Oz show. He's going to have his work cut out. But what he can do, which not many people talk about, is we talked about their high against D50 scores. They also score quite highly. And it's because of this guy. 6 spoils. That's rated very good. You're talking the top echelon of AFL. And what that does is you look at the players around him. These guys are smart cookies in their back line. They look to move the ball quickly from the back. And they have that thing that Carlton hate, the diagonal exit out of rebound 50. We know that when teams traditionally switch, Carlton are pretty good at that. When the switch becomes more of a diagonal, and what I'm talking about there is back pocket left to high half-back flank on the right, is cuts us apart. And this is something that is very sandful. A lot of the South Australian sides do it, and it is very quick. It kills your zone very quickly. And the way you stop that is, one, you come at this guy's weak foot. You take away that guy's exit from there. So you come at the side, you come in, and you narrow the option down. You want to try and do that. You want to get him on his weak foot so he doesn't have that accuracy, because 93% disposal efficiency, the 5 marks, he's a big spoiler, and that's because of the talent they've got in their back line to use the ball. But them 2 score launches, be wary of it because they can cut you apart. And then the problem at 60 metres. Now, Carlton have really focused this year. And what they're doing is they play an incredibly high forward line, but then they play kind of almost an aggressive a really aggressive midfield line, skirting outside 60. And then they have a real deep full-back line, but the half-back line is kind of in no man's land. And what that's going to do is slow you down. That's their job. Traditionally, they put the quite taller players there that aren't involved in the forward line. That allows them to bring it down and just slow it up and just be nagging. Now, where you can hit Carlton, as GWS did, is that 65, 60 out. And that is where this gentleman likes to fluctuate, particularly on defensive transition. He gets somewhere between the halfway line and halfway to the 50. And that is where he's deadly. They look for him. He marauds out of that area. And let's look at Tex. Numbers aren't really impressive until you get to the back lines, but contested marks, this guy here has changed his game. He's looking for the uncontested. He's looking to lead Young and Wheater. You'd imagine Wheater may get him. I wouldn't be surprised to see Young get him, though, just because of his superior spoiling at the minute. But they look to drag him. He's looking to drag the key defender into his domain outside 50. You will see this guy do a lot of work inside 50. If he does, Carlton are cushy. They are cushy if he's there. Problem is when he gets out there. You see there, 1 mark on the lead, 4 shots. It's this score involvements. This is it. He gets it 60 and he plummets it. And then that's when Rankine and Mr. Rochelle, they go to work. They're front and centre. He's looking to blob this on the goal square, and they don't leave until they get 6 points. And that is where Carlton will be looking. And that is what Carlton needs to be wary of. Because this guy here, if he gets off the chain, he can hurt you. But the Blue Boys have got the ace in the hole. Mr. Sam Walsh returns, and this kid here can play footy. Now, you think our transition's good at the moment. World record, 5 goals, 1 from kick-ins. Massive defensive source in transition. Massive numbers are rising there. Carlton are becoming a counter-punch side as well as bully you in the centre. And when this gentleman comes back, these are his numbers for 2022. You can see why. 12 contested possessions in the top part of the midfielders. 10 ground ball gets. He gets that scrabby ball and he uses it well. 3 tackles a game, average, 75% disposal efficiency. A lot being made of his kicking, but when you look at how this guy plays and how Vossi deploys him, Vossi has traditionally played him as that second, third ball user in the midfield, and also then rested him on high half forward, which incidentally could be a good little tell this week. 22 pressure acts, and this guy ahead of the ball, you want him kicking it inside 50. He can make something happen. He can do the unthinkable. We're looking for PODs, points of difference in our midfield, and when you've got Kennedy and Hewitt and Cripps, this guy's a major POD. You've seen Chera and his intensity and what he brings. Walsh is that next echelon up. This guy can change it. And seeing Chera's development really excites me for Walsh, because Walsh isn't going to have to do the scraggly things as much. He can get these ground ball gets and hand them off and give them off to our wingers. Carlton are going to be exciting. And that's a big key. Akers and Hollands with this guy. This guy's got a good understanding. And the big problem with Walsh is when he takes off, not many of our wingers have been able to keep up with him, because incidentally, he wins. He's too quick. Hollands and Akers, both elite runners, they can keep up with him for 4 quarters, and that will excite him. Tom Stewart, Mitch McGovern, fast becoming one of my favourites, you know. I might have to get another picture frame up there, but this guy here can play football. And how good does he look behind the ball? He's going back to his old home, the AO, and you know what? When a player plays that old club, this is where it comes alive. 75% one-on-one win ratio. When you're coming from the third, that's impressive, because not a lot of them have the ability to go one-on-one. A lot of players, people forget about this, who play this role, are relying on the tolls to help them out defensively, but they're there for their offensive flair. This guy can defend 4 tackles, elite numbers, 2 score launches, elite numbers, just under 80%, incidentally, elite if that was it. And it's just the roundup that's killed him. We could have maybe been a little bit toffee and got him to 80, but, you know. And intercept possession 7. This guy here and Adam Sard are the reason Carlton scored so many goals. It was that combination. This was the first time we've seen Wheater utilise these two more than Doc. And it's probably not, there's never a good time for an injury, But probably the best time, if you could choose it, was when Carlton's exit pattern changed from Doc to Sard and McGovern. And this was a primary focus last week. And I'm willing to see it again. And it does allow us to get Doc right because Walsh is back in that pinch-hit midfield, which means there is another rotation opened up. Mitch McGovern is the key to this game because I'll tell you what, Mitch McGovern will be the one that's sniffing around that entry ball to Tex Walker. And it's something that we saw Hainsey do against Adelaide at the time where they won very, very well. If you can just read that play, which Mitch McGovern reads it well, it's game over. And if they intercept there, which what GWS did, it's game over. The counter punch, boys. Nick Newman and Sard. Late change for this graphic because we were doing Sam Doherty, but a lot will be expected of these two. And I suspect that one of these will get Rochelle, and I suspect what the other one will get Rankine. And the reason why these guys hurt you offensively and one's very solid defensively. 100% one-on-one Sard is this year. 2 tackles a game, AFL average, 2 score launches, 83% kicking efficiency and 9 intercept possessions. And you'd imagine that this guy will see a lot of Rochelle. That's probably where they both play and try and give him something to worry about. Last year, we saw Rochelle get dogged down, a bit like Toby Green did against this fella and against Nick Newman when players do it. So when we go back to that Geelong game, Tyson Stengel was battered by this gentleman because he hurt him offensively. Carlton chose with Nick Newman and with Toby Green to go with a more defensive guy that could hurt you. His numbers were very oppressive offensively, meaning Toby Green had to defend. If you give them someone to attack them, it allows the defender to take the game over. And he is going to be a real problem for them exiting D50. And here he is, Mr. Nick Newman, steady as they come. 63% one-on-one, which is more stapled that he's had a lot more one-on-ones and been one out a lot more. But still a healthy average for what you'd expect from that avenue. 3 tackles a game, he's a brute. Score launches too, 85% kicking efficiency, and showing he's more of a defensive provider, the 6 intercept possessions. And it's really interesting this because this is a really good matchup. I like the fact that Cowan and Nick Newman may float a little bit on Rankine. One's going to give him the body, one's going to give him the accountability. And I think that that's probably a real good way to flux it. Nick Newman as well can really hurt on the penetration of his kick and his ability just to keep recycling possession. It's going to be a really interesting matchup and one that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Don't stop me now. It's always a great week when I get to talk about this gentleman, and that is Charlie Curnow. Easily my favourite player in the comp. Jeremy Cameron and him, still would go Charlie. 2 contested marks, elite. 1 mark on the lead. Interesting that. 6 shots on goal, resulting in 4 goals and 9 scoring involvements. And what Tex can do coming outside of 50, this gentleman can do incredibly well as well as his mate Harry. But this here is going to be a really interesting matchup, especially from a Carlton perspective. Carlton have got to utilise the fact that Dodie can only take one of them. Dodie's strength as well is when their structure allows them to lock down a side, allowing Dodie to be a bit more free and look to enact it. Now, they got that last week and they got it the week before. However, now they're playing a premier forward backline. And whoever it is, if they give it to Max McClanley, I don't think they will. Nick Murray, Jordan Butts, Tom Dodie, one of them will take these guys. And Curnow will be looking, saying, if Harry can hurt these people for me, I am well aware. And this should be an absolute brilliant little matchup and one that Carlton want to exploit by doing what they did in the third and getting it in early. Let's look at the Pommy team selection then. And no real surprise. I've got a few forced outs, but I'm going Mitch McGovern, Jacob Wheater and Cowan is my full back line. Adam Sard, Young and Newman, my half back line. A return of Blake Acres, allowing our transition to be somehow even better. Paddy Cripps and Ollie Hollands is my centre line. Half forward, Fish, he survives. Harry Mackay, he will get let off tonight when you watch us on the stream. J Sauce, Durden, Curnow and Motlop, with my followers being so good to have him back. Peternet, Kennedy and Walsh, with the interchange bench being Hewitt, Chera, TDK, and I've gone Cincotta to bring in that defensive flair, meaning my sub will be Ed Kerno, allowing Carlton to be a little bit fluxed and a little bit creative, if you will. So let's look at why I went to Cincotta. He is the obvious choice based on past, and this is Lockie Plowman. 55% win rate, which again is about AFL average for a guy that gets the smallest forward. 2 tackles a game below AFL average, 1 score launch, 79% kicking efficiency, 6 intercept possessions. These are his 22 stats. Now, it's very interesting, this, because a very similar time when Plowman came in was injuries like we've had. A player that is dynamic, that gets the ball out like Doc does. Now, he's been very impressive in VFL, and he has played a more offensive role a la Doc. However, I don't think it'll be him. I think it will be this man here. It's been named. Now, note, these aren't official stats. I have gone back and I keep a little book because they don't release the full allocation of VFL stats, and done this by eye. So me and my mate have worked together. We've put our numbers, and this was the average between us. So they'll be about right. I'd say barring 5%. So pretty good between us. 73%. One-on-one win ratio, which he is very strong there. There is talk that he's looking at the Mitch McGovern role in VFL, which you can see quite clearly that he's trying to be that more aggressive interceptor, hence the 9 intercept possessions. 3 tackles, he's been very strong, very good overhead. 6 score launches, still needs to work on that, but he has played in the trash VFL performances, to be fair. Good kicking efficiency, though, and for me, Cincotta, it's debut time. Debut time in the furnace, gather around. AO. My prediction, you know what? I'm going to shock you here. And I think Carlton win this one by 23. Let me know in the comments your predictions and your teams. I'll be live for this one on Thursday on Blue Abroad. Look after yourself. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad.